And I got a physicist friend to help me draw up the equation of right plus wrong divided by the square root of 2 is what you would have to put your name to if you wanted to make an ethical correlation with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And I was rapping the knuckles of my younger self, especially in The Child in Time, when I rather wantonly ransacked physics. And I know Lee Smolin is in the audience. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I was pretty careless in the raids I conducted on, especially in quantum mechanics, for imagery. It was a form of exoticism, really, such as you might find in the poetry of Keats. Lists of delicious things like quince and plum and goods, as it were, without fully understanding the things themselves.
The other thing that Beard does frequently is he compares the life of an artist to the life of a scientist. Well, for instance, when he tries to pick up his first wife, he flash memorizes 6 lines of Milton. He reads 4 essays about Milton, which I thought was going to a lot of trouble to get her into bed.
He reads all of Milton.
It reads all of Milton?
Yeah, it reads right through, from Samson Agonistes, Lycidas,
Oh, well, I didn't get that from the book, and then he goes to a lot of trouble.
He spends a whole week reading Milton.
Yeah. And then he says none of it came close to advanced mathematics in terms of difficulty.
Well, sometimes I hide behind this character to voice a prejudice or two that I couldn't really defend as an educational policy, but I sometimes wonder whether the study of English literature in universities is not a complete waste of time, and that we could all be reading these novels anyway, and that we, the liberal humanists in our educations, if you're reasonably psychiatrically stable and halfway intelligent, and panic now and then about a term paper, anyone of moderate intelligence can get a good degree. It's a fact. But try getting your mind around Dirac's equation or special and general theories. It's really heavy lifting. And yet somehow we managed to look down, especially when I was a student, we used to look down on all the kind of nerds and geeks who did physics and maths. And now I understand that they were daily confronting some of the hardest things ever thought. And how on earth did we manage to look down on them? So Michael Beard, in order to seduce the girl who turns out to be his first wife, is amazed, really, that he's up every morning at 8:30 for the first of his lectures at 9 o'clock, 6 lectures a day, confronting the hardest things I've ever thought. And the liberal arts know-nothings are getting up at 2 p.m. every day for their 1 or 2 tutorials a week, with the occasional panic about a term paper, and sailing through. He does, 30 years later, Michael Beard does meet a professor of English in Hong Kong who says, well, look, listen, old boy, if you had seduced 90 women with 90 poets and remembered them all, the poets, that is, and managed to form at the end of this process an overview, then you would have deserved an English degree. But for Michael Beard, it remains, at the age of 20, an intellectual shadow line that he crosses. He will no longer let some literature type lord it over him intellectually.
Mm. One of the things I remember reading Between the Sheets and The Cement Garden and the early books of stories, and thinking that you were unique because most stories seem to have the action on the outside and the psychology on the inside, and you seem to turn the story inside out as if it was sort of a glove, and the psychology was on the outside and the mystery was on the inside. And you would write stories, Solid Geometry, about a man who folded his wife into the 6th plane and she disappeared, and all that was, and his grandfather tried, all was left was his penis. I mean, bizarre stories. Like, you still seem interested in psychology, and that seems to be an unpopular thing these days. I mean, you almost seem to be reading Freud as you're writing.
I don't think anyone could be a novelist without being interested in psychology, at least in the general sense that literature, especially the novel, is a sort of tool for the unfolding and investigation of human nature. So inevitably, psychology, in the non-academic sense, I mean, it's very difficult to pick up a textbook of psychology and feel, once you spent an hour or two with it, that you know any more about human nature than you did when you started. Very difficult indeed. Whereas I think an hour or two with Madame Bovary or Anna Karenina or any of the books that we love will demonstrate great things to us. But it's quite hard to put into words these notions, this sense of a knowledge into any kind of terse or definable theorem or anything like that. That's why I think we will always need literature as an investigation of the small print of consciousness. So I don't think I'm different in any respect with this. We've found over the last 30 years that the novel has been remarkably robust against all the other attractions that are on offer.
So you don't agree with Philip Roth when he says it's on its way out, it'll all be TV?
I thought there was a touch of après moi le déluge. I mean, he's done very well out of it and contributed magnificently. So why it should fall just as he comes off the twig, I don't know.
Do you, of your novels, and this might seem like a too simple a question, but which one was easiest to write and which one was hardest to write?
That's very hard. I don't find writing easy at all, and I'm a very messy beginner of novel. I find it very hard to get going.
Yeah, the stories of you seem to sort of write paragraphs here and there and take a lot of time off.
I take a lot of time off. I always feel at the end of a novel I'm owed some time off. And I feel that some life has to slip by so that I could become a slightly different person. And
in the course of the writing, you have to become a different person?
No, in the course of the hiatus between one novel and another.
I see.
And that I will, I don't know, think myself, talk, listen, read, travel, and just to shift my whole being just to one side. And every book I write feels like the first. And every book I write feels like it is like discovering how to write it. And generally, somewhere between half and 2/3 the way through, you discover how to write this novel. Not the other ones, not the ones that you haven't even thought of, but only this one. And that is a marvelous bit, the sort of sunlit plateaus of a novel where you know all the characters, you know the tone in which the story is to be told. And that's when it gets easier. I know it's not easy, but it certainly has its momentum then. Those are the glorious times when you're on maybe 50, 60, 70,000 words in and you've finally been taught how to do this. But it's no help for the next one.
But what's 30,000 words in like? That's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, that's more... There's always that sense maybe you're doing the wrong thing. And maybe this isn't the one that's going to set you free. There's a notion of freedom here, of finding the character, the tone of voice in which a story is to be told, that seems to give you more mental space. And at 20,000, 30,000 words, you're still